in both of those relationships, and this we can go back to what you were trying to explain to us before, in both of those relationships, when you accepted this courtship of love bombing, when you, I don't want to say that you fell for it because I don't think that's appropriate, but when you accepted this courtship of love bombing, when you were vulnerable enough for it to unconsciously rope you in there, who were you in both those moments? This is what I think is so important for us all to listen. If you have a notebook and a pen and you see some common traits or characteristics, I want you to write them down for yourself, because awareness is the most important step to moving forward and growth in life. So being aware of who we are in moments where we attract trauma is actually more important than just witnessing the trauma we've attracted or the person doing the trauma, because we can control how we show up. We cannot control the external factors that come to us, except by controlling or changing how we attract them. That's how we can change the world of what happens to us, the quality of relationships we have, the people who we fucking attract. The biggest thing I always tell people is you are a fucking magnet. And based on your vibration, you will attract something that gets stuck to the magnet. So if you're living in a high sense of confidence, self-worth, with a higher frequency and vibration, you will attract everything in your life that reflects that. But if you are living in a place with a lower vibration, a lower frequency, because of whatever you're going through, because of wounds that come up, maybe because of rejection you just felt recently, that is also what you will attract. So your mission in life is not to focus on, I hate these people, I don't want them in my life. Your mission is, what can I do to improve my vibration from here to here? What is it that I can do to work on my healing from here to here? But first, you must first accept and see, where am I? So then I have a good idea of what I can do. So if I'm here, I have to witness, work on it, and see what can I do out here. So coming back to you, Christina, who were you in both those situations where you unconsciously, I would say, allowed these, this to happen in your life?
Yeah, so I'll give you all some adjectives, because as you said that, I could clearly see kind of like this energetic representation of who I was. And I would say frazzled, dysregulated. Like when I picture it, it's like just like a constant state of dysregulation. And not on that, you wouldn't know it if you saw me, but on the inside, 100%. Just like insecure, frozen in certain, areas of my life. So just not able to get into a state of empowerment in certain areas. So
were you lonely?
Yes, I would say that, man, I don't want to say I was like desperate for love, but I mean,
it's okay. This is safe space to say it.
Yeah, that's the adjective that's coming up right now, y'all. I was desperate for love.
Okay. Would you say you also really wanted companionship?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted companionship. Like I said, I was like starved for love. I was starved for, all of those things that come along with a relationship, really.
Okay. So I want to honestly first appreciate your bravery in being vulnerable enough to share this with people. You have no idea how, by you showing your truth, it's influencing and giving a lot of people inspiration, by the way, to say, okay, I'm not the only one then who's been through this, or who's going through this, or who was in this state. And also what it gives them is hope, because here you are fucking teaching in the work. Here you are, having worked through what you are, standing as such a strong feminine example for people to learn and to grow through this. This is such a good opportunity for so many other people, so many other women, so many other men to see you and say, okay, wow, I can learn and grow just as she did. So first, I want to thank you for sharing all of those things. Now, the next question I have is, you described who you were when you got into those relationships, right? What if you had the ability in hindsight, what should you have done in those moments, in those relationships, that you can now do for yourself, or that you do for yourself when you get into relationships now?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. That's been part of my healing process is, we talk a lot about the inner child meditations, and that's something we do in the gauntlet so frequently. And so it's interesting because Yats kind of tends to be like the more like stern, like daddy figure, called Big Daddy Yatty, Big Daddy Yats. And then I definitely am more like the maternal, like grandmom that's like, yeah, you could eat ice cream for breakfast. But anyway, my point in bringing that up is for the inner child connection. A lot of people, they kind of like have that age range. And I know that that's where we want to go back. But I always say, you know, you can start as recent as you need to. So for me, the inner child reparenting was really like actually going back to that, like that exact moment that I had spoken of earlier about being in that conversation where the one guy said, oh, we should like move in together. And then I said, isn't it too soon? And then I just like, I remember like picturing myself just kind of like, you know, like going through the meditation and then just like envisioning like what I would say, you know, and like standing in my truth, like really like standing in there and like supporting myself and validating what I knew to be my own truth and aligned with me. So that was kind of it, you know, to summarize. But, and what was the last part of your question?
No, I was like, what could you have done in those moments, or what you should you have done? So I think you talked about those, but do you think there's a difference between wounded needs and your authentic needs? Do you think, like, just to tell people about this concept, do you think there's a difference between these two things?
Absolutely. I was just talking about this today with my acupuncturist.
Okay.
I was talking yeah. I was saying, I said like said to him, I think so many of us, we're just we're so out of touch with our needs, and we're not sure what our inner child needs and what are like our ego needs. So, you know,
so just for those of you who are not familiar with the inner child and the ego, that's like a huge concept of what we teach on the gauntlet, is how we show up when our survival programs show up is primarily through the ego, and how when we're really authentic and we are our best versions of ourselves, we're connecting with our inner child. So in the gauntlet, which I think some of you know about, but that's our deep 8-week program, we work on trying to heal the inner child so that we need less of the ego. But to tell you in more layman's terms right now, the wounded needs are the needs that we think are our own, but which show up when we're in a state of dysregulation. So when we're in a place where we're not grounded, we're not feeling safe and secure, we're not really in love with who we are or valuing ourselves, we have a set of needs. Now, unfortunately, as time has gone by and because of our lack of awareness of where this comes from, we think these are our real needs. And what those needs will be like, I need a partner to say, I love you this many times. I need a partner to respond within this short period of time. I need a partner to like to come back and say they love me or whatever, XYZ. And those are all a projection of an insecurity we feel. Whereas the authentic needs we have, those are the needs that show themselves when we are regulated, when we are grounded, when we've worked on a lot of our wounds, when we've worked on a lot of our insecurities. And these are what we actually need to create safe and sustainable relationships. There's a difference between these two things, folks. And the difference is so strong that if you focus and build a relationship primarily on your wounded needs. So for example, let's talk about Christina in that moment when she very vulnerably shared, and I hope you don't mind bringing this up, was feeling like maybe she wasn't her best self. She was desperate for like love and connection. She wanted companionship. She just wanted the external to keep making her feel better. So her wounded need was that she wanted somebody else to give her love. Whereas what her authentic need is, she just wanted to be loved by herself. She just wanted to show up to protect herself. She just wanted to be important and want her to choose herself. I can tell you, I've been in much worse situations than what Christina has been and expressed my wounded needs so much worse. But when we focus too much on our wounded needs, we're projecting it and asking the external world to show up for us. And we forget how we can show up for ourselves. Hey, and welcome to the Inner Yats YouTube page. If you like our content, make sure you click the like and the subscribe button so that you get more of these amazing videos that keep coming your way.